Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in and we're going to go over some shocking statistics today that is really going to demonstrate how foolish some of these home buyers have actually been. We're going to go over some really crazy stuff, you guys, like the fact that 21% of Americans still think you need a 20% down payment, and also the fact that 1/3 of Americans shop on Zillow once a day. We're going to go into all kinds of crazy stuff, and I know that if you listen to this video, your mind is going to be absolutely blown. The website Real Estate Witch came out with a tremendous amount of statistics, you guys. I'm going to try to cover it as fast as possible. The deeper I got into this article, the more my mind was blown about the inexperience and the lack of education when it comes to purchasing. And I really hope that you guys are getting the value on my channel that is helping you to become a better home buyer. And don't forget, you guys, I'm not a financial advisor, even though my bio is as a realtor, loan officer, and instructor in real estate. And if you guys can, please like this video and subscribe if you can. But regardless, you guys, this will be linked in my description. The name of this article is Shocking Real Estate Myths Americans Actually Believe. And this is 2023 data. This stuff, you guys, is absolutely shocking. Starting with here, about 1 in 3 non-homeowners say they're knowledgeable about the home buying process, but 62 wrongfully think it's required to put down 20% on a home, and 66 mistakenly believe buyers pay their own agent's commission. Holy smokes. That's pretty alarming, because you can actually purchase homes for as little as $0 down, VA and down payment assistance programs. And then also almost all the time, and there's actually a NAR lawsuit, the seller pays the buyer's realtor commission. Home ownership has become somewhat of a national obsession, you think? With more than half of Americans, 53%, looking at Zillow listings at least once a week. Here's the shocking thing. And 29% looking at least once a day. Holy smokes, the obsession right now is bad. Although Americans may feel behind in life if they don't own a home, a majority overestimate the success of their peers. The average age for the first-time home buyer is actually 36, but 73% of Americans think it's much younger. So there's a bunch of people that are basically jealous. And the reality is they have nothing, especially if they're buying right now, they have nothing to be jealous of. Now, if you're comparing to what people purchased in 2019 and 2020, yeah, I would maybe be a little bit jealous, but I'm not going to be so jealous I'm obsessed and I make bad decisions. Americans may be obsessed with home ownership, but they actually know very little about the home buying process. In fact, an overwhelming 83% of homeowners say they were surprised by at least one aspect of home buying. So this shows us right here that the average home buyer purchasing in their primary residence is not educated on the process. And that is a very big deal, because this is the biggest financial transaction of almost everyone's life. As they learn more about the real estate market, 63% of home buyers had to adjust their priorities, and 65% had to adjust their budget. And again, that's showing me that the people that are purchasing right now are not properly prepared and do not have realistic expectations. These recent home buyers are in super duper danger. Despite their personal experience, many homeowners remain baffled by the home buying process, with the average American only purchasing a home every 8 years. It's easy to forget specifics or be confused by misinformation, like from Dave Ramsey when he says that home buyers have only gone down one time in 2008. That is grossly misleading information. Housing misinformation statistics. 83% of homeowners were surprised by part of the home buying process. The average age is 36. 73% of Americans don't think homes are affordable right now. And I'm wondering, why isn't it not like higher, like 90%? But okay. Yet 60% underestimate the median home price. Just 14% know the median home price ranges between $400,000 and $500,000. So again, this is showing us that so many people right now are just not properly educated. And then listen to this. In addition to their mortgage, homeowners spend about $13,000 annually on home-related expenses such as utilities, maintenance, and improvements. But 48% of Americans believe annual homeowner expenses are less than that amount. So it's expensive to be a homeowner sometimes. More than 1 in 5 Americans, 21%, say home buyers actually need to put more than 20%. How do 21% of Americans think it takes more than 20% down to buy a house? How you guys, how is that possible? 23% of non-homeowners think saving for a down payment will be the most challenging part of buying a home, but only 8% of homeowners say it actually is. There's so many programs that are designed to help people with the down payment. Unfortunately, those programs are often abused. Real estate agents generally communicate with the seller, but 2 in 3 or 65% of non-homeowners mistakenly believe it's the buyer's responsibility. So what do they think the agents actually do? That's crazy. The seller usually pays agent commission, but 62, you guys, over half of Americans think buyers pay for their own agent's commission. And that may actually change in a couple of years now because NAR has a massive billion-dollar lawsuit right now because of this very thing. And to be quite frank with you guys, I think it's way too much money for the typical seller to pay 6% to sell their house. More than half of Americans underestimate how much they'll pay in realtor commissions, and it's a lot. Only 11% of Americans know that agents earn 6% of the final price. And I did a video, you guys, and I'm like, the average is 6% plus 2% in fees, so like 8%. And I had all these realtors say like, no, it's never 6% total. It's 6%. Okay, it's 6% average. Get over it. The cat's out the bag. Just 12% of Americans know the current rate for a 30-year mortgage hovers between 6 and 7%. How is that possible? How do only 12% of Americans know what's going on with mortgage rates right now? 12%. We are failing, you guys. We are failing. 43% of non-homeowners think they are knowledgeable about the mortgage process, but nearly 2/3 wrongfully assume buyers should find the home they want to purchase before getting pre-approved. And I got to tell you guys, as a loan officer, very successful loan officer of 2 decades, this is exactly right. Before you go buy real estate, and in fact, before you even look at real estate, in my opinion, the first thing that we should be doing as consumers is making sure we can get the money, which means get qualified for a loan first. If you're afraid to get qualified, it's okay. You want to get a head start on this because generally a loan officer will tell you what is wrong and what you could do to fix it. So if you wait to the last minute, you may not have the opportunity to fix your financial challenges and you may miss the house that you want. So in my opinion, again, you always get pre-qualified before looking at houses, well before. 6 in 10 Americans underestimate the median home price. And the reason that is, you guys, is because it blew up in only 2.5 years, about 50%. We can't even comprehend that yet. Our brains can't function at that speed and shock. So essentially, guys, 60% of Americans think the median sales price, the average sales price is under $400,000, with 26 thinking it's actually above $500,000. Here's another big one. People are so obsessed, they forget to calculate maintenance costs. Nearly half of Americans miscalculated home maintenance cost. In addition to their mortgage, homeowners spend about $13,000 annually on home-related expenses, yet nearly half of Americans, 48%, don't believe they'll spend that much, with about 1 in 4 or 29% expecting to pay less than $5,000. And if that includes utilities, who's coming up with these numbers? Look at this chart right here. To the best of my knowledge, what is the minimum down payment required to purchase a home? So 58% of people said 0 to 15%. Good job, 58% of people. But look at the additional failure, you guys. There are as many people that thought it required 20% as it required more than 20%. And this is one of the primary reasons you got to start, in my opinion, with getting qualified first, because during the qualification process, a good loan officer is going to tell you really important things like what is your estimated payment, and a really important thing like what is the estimated out-of-pocket expense, right? Those are two hugely important things that generally only a loan officer can pinpoint to you. Now, obviously on my channel, we look at rough data like Google Mortgage Calculator, but at the end of the day, you gotta let a loan officer do that work for you. One such fee is private mortgage insurance, but 85% of Americans are baffled by this charge. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans, 23%, believe PMI protects home buyers if they can't pay their mortgage. Oh my gosh. But the exact opposite is true. PMI protects the lender if the buyers stop making mortgage payments. Can you guys believe that 1 in 4 Americans thought that that was something that protects them? You guys, mortgage insurance does not protect the homeowner. Mortgage insurance, whether it's FHA, that's mortgage insurance premium, or conventional PMI, private mortgage insurance, that protects the lender in the event that you default or stop making mortgage payments. Non-homeowners are 3 times more likely to view savings for a down payment as the most difficult part of buying the home. And that is a difficult part. That's why I'm telling you guys, one of the things we should be doing on the sideline is save as much money as possible. One of the ways to do that is figure out how we're spending money. I use an app called mint.com so that I could do something about it. In fact, a couple days before I made this video, we went back through all of my subscriptions. And you guys, we found that my wife and I had 23 subscriptions. I was like, how do we have 23 subscriptions? So we canceled, I think, roughly 9 subscriptions, you guys, and I saved an additional close to $300 a month. And I'm sitting here preaching to you guys, look out for subscriptions. I went back in and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get in this situation again? So I think it's really wise for us to continuously make sure we have great spending habits. 85% of homeowners were surprised by the home buying process. Now, one of the things that they were surprised about is closing costs. The best of your knowledge, what percent of the sales price does the average buyer pay in closing costs? So the majority of people said that closing costs were 3 to 6%, which is pretty accurate, with somehow 33% saying 6% or more. And I'm going to tell you guys right now about closing costs. Every single offer that I put in, I require, I'll walk away, that the seller pays every penny of my closing costs. Because the way I see it is I'm the one that's overextending myself. Why would I also want to pay another $10,000 in closing costs if the seller will do that? And I could pull up contracts. I put in a minimum of 3 contracts from when I've started renting. And in each of those contracts, I'm asking for a minimum $9,000 in closing costs because I refuse to pay it myself. When we look at what surprised home buyers the most, the top one is, again, how much closing costs really are. So we see a lot of things in the survey, you guys, that basically people are not prepared for how expensive this is. And to me, that demonstrates clear emotional obsession. Now, the number 2 is how fast homes sold. So that number 2 thing is probably going to put more what? Anxiety, more pressure on them to purchase. The third thing is what makes up closing costs. So they get surprised on what makes it up. And I can tell you guys, in this environment, a huge part of what makes up closing costs is those rate buy downs and rate costs. The length of the process normally should take about 30 days from a contract being accepted to closing on the contract. So generally 30 days from execution. The next thing is the price I had to pay for my home, only 25%. Okay. The next thing was buyer competition, 23%. The next thing is securing a mortgage, followed by how high my mortgage rate is. Next is how much I had to negotiate. Next is how many offers I had to make. 2 in 3 Americans think home buyers need very good or excellent credit to qualify for a loan. Now, as we go into the economic turmoil we're facing and there's more and more credit tightening, this will become more and more true, which again is why I'm saying if you're on the sidelines, make sure you have exceptional credit, because odds are it's going to be harder to get a loan as we move forward. It's going to be harder. We know that it will be harder to get loans moving forward. Understand what I'm saying? Look at what most people thought your credit score needed to be, 600 to 699. So most people were actually right. Now, most lenders on a normal loan can traditionally go down to a 580 credit score so long as the borrower has something called compensating factors, which we could usually amount to money saved after closing, or rather reserves. About 42% of people thought your credit score had to be 700 or over to get a mortgage. Talk about insane misinformation out there. This one's really, really crazy. 1 in 4 Americans think the current mortgage rates are 10% or higher. How the heck is that possible? when I read this, it makes me realize I need to do a better job at explaining some of these things a little bit better. I hope that anyone that's watching this didn't fall into those statistics, to the bad end of the statistics. But you guys, there's no doubt, not only is the housing market, the prices of the housing market built on this massive equity growth, it's also built on massive emotional, reckless, toxic fear of missing out, obsession, and emotion. That's not going to last, you guys. It has rebounded this year. We know it's rebounded this year, probably a result of the $400 billion in bank bailout, but time will tell. If you are planning on purchasing a home, you might want to do an overwhelming amount of research, because this is such an important part of life, in my opinion anyways, and you want to take it seriously. In other words, you guys, you reap what you sow. Other than that, I really hope you guys got some new insights, value, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.